Is that good for sound? Okay. Good evening. It's Tuesday, December the 16th, and I'm calling our meeting to order at 5:32 p.m. We'll start with our land acknowledgement. The municipality of Port Hope exists on the lands of the Mississauga Anishinaabe traditional territory covered by the Williams Treaties. We honor and recognize First Peoples as rights holders and stewards of the lands and waters in which we have the privilege to live, work, and play, including the Ganaraska Forest and River. We pay respect to elders past, present, and emerging. We commit to actions towards truth and reconciliation by recognizing the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, strengthening ties with First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples, especially those who make their home in Port Hope, and learning from Indigenous ways of knowing and being. We do so by recognizing the past and working towards a shared future. Does anybody have any pecuniary interest to disclose before we enter into today's agenda? Seeing none. Moving on to item number 3, our closed session. Today we will be proceeding in closed session in accordance with the Municipal Act to address items pertaining to litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board, section 239(2)E, and advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose, section 239(2)F. OLT number 23-000-360-3852 Ganaraska Road. Can I get a mover and seconder to go into closed? Moved by Councillor Less, seconded by Councillor Darrell. All in favor? And that is passed. And I just want to state publicly that there will be a rise and report after we come out of the closed session. So we will now stop the live feed and we will be proceeding into the committee room. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. We will now be commencing our meeting. I'm going to be calling our meeting to order this evening at 6:37 p.m. Going to start with a moment of silent reflection. On behalf of the municipality of Port Hope, I extend our deepest condolences to the people of Sydney, to our Australian friends, and to Jewish communities around the world following the tragic events at Bondi Beach on December the 14th. We hold in our thoughts the victims, those who are injured, their families, and all who are grieving during this difficult time. I respectfully invite us to observe a moment of silence and carry that silence forward as a promise to remember those whose lives were taken, to comfort those who mourn, and to stand firm against all violence and all bloodshed that we are bearing witness to all around the world at increasing levels. So please join me in a moment of silent reflection. Thank you. Moving on to our land acknowledgement. The municipality of Port Hope exists on the lands of the Mississauga Anishinaabe traditional territory covered by the Williams Treaties. We honor and recognize First Peoples as rights holders and stewards of the lands and waters on which we have the privilege to live, work, and play, including the Ganaraska Forest and River. We pay respect to elders past, present, and emerging. We commit to actions towards truth and reconciliation by recognizing the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, strengthening ties with First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples, especially those who make their home in Port Hope, and learning from Indigenous ways of knowing and being. We do so by recognizing the past and working towards a shared future. Moving on to item number 2, are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest around the table? Seeing none, we received none prior to today's meeting. Moving on to item number 3, Closed session. Earlier today, Council passed a motion to proceed into closed session at 5:30 p.m. to consider business as permitted under the Municipal Act and as listed on today's agenda. This motion was passed in a public session streamed live and was in accordance with our closed meeting policy. Moving on to item number 4, business arising from the closed session. In the continuing interest of transparency, I can report at this open meeting the outcomes of today's closed session. Council approved the minutes from the closed session on December 2nd, 2025. That was the last time that the Council met in closed session. Council also received advice from legal counsel and an update from staff regarding items pertaining to litigation or potential litigation, including matters before the administrative tribunals affecting the municipality. This is with respect to file OLT 23-000-360, 3852 Ganareska Road. Council received this update as information. I would like a mover and seconder on the following motion: that Council receive the confidential update from staff and legal counsel as information, and that Council confirm the confidential direction to staff. Can I get a mover and seconder on that? Moved by Councillor Adam, seconded by Councillor Todd. All in favor? And that is passed unanimously. And I also want to share with you and provide a statement regarding the Ontario Land Tribunal's recent decision to approve conditions for a new development at 3852 Ganareska Road. The first thing I want to emphasize is that this file has the full attention of this council. The OLT issued their decision to approve the development on November the 18th, 2025. The province made the decision to change the ANSI boundary. The municipality did not make these decisions. We understand the concerns related to water supply. The municipality will play a key role in the next steps in the development, which involves preparation of technical studies and monitoring of environmental conditions to meet all municipal and provincial requirements. The municipality is committed to including residents and sharing technical reports going forward. In the new year, we will provide a detailed summary outlining the full process taken to date and future steps that we will take as well. Moving on to item number 5, announcements, updates, and recognitions. And this is a fun one. 5.1, Mayor's Kids and Youth Art Contest winners. One community, many celebrations. Earlier this fall, we launched the annual Mayor's Kids and Youth Art Council. This year's theme was One Community, Many Celebrations, and I'm thrilled to say that we received a record number of submissions from our young residents. Tonight, we are delighted to welcome all the talented artists to council chambers that are being recognized as winners in this contest, and I'll be presenting certificates of recognition shortly. But before we invite them to the horseshoe, I want to take a moment to thank everyone who participated in this fun initiative, and especially to the teachers that encourage their students to participate. The creativity and enthusiasm to make our community stronger is very much appreciated, and I look forward to more opportunities like this in the future. And I want to especially thank the students who forfeited their Christmas concerts to be here this evening, and I believe that's Hayden and Finley and Ronan, so thank you very much. We feel very honored that you're here. But I'm going to call out all the names of our contest winners, and I'd like them to come up to the front. Hayden E., Leah B., Evelyn A., Finley M., Ronan F., Ollie C., and Eleanor J. Please come forward. We'll just wait a moment for all the Picassos to leave the room. If you'd like to see the award-winning artwork, it's displayed at the front of our council this evening. Okay, moving on to our next very important item on the agenda, 5.2, Volunteer Firefighter Long Service Recognition. Today we gather to celebrate the remarkable dedication of our volunteer firefighters, the backbone of our community. These extraordinary individuals selflessly commit their time and energy to protect our community, often putting their lives on the line to ensure our safety. Their response to emergencies is really quite outstanding. Their courage, professionalism, it really does embody the very spirit of service. As a municipality, we do recognize the countless hours, the training, the sacrifices they make, often balancing responsibilities of family and job. Their unwavering commitment deserves our deepest respect and gratitude. Today we are proud to honor those who have achieved significant milestones in their service. Whether it's 5 years or 20 years, each year represents a promise kept to our community, to each other, and to the values that we all hold very dear. Let us take a moment to acknowledge these heroes and express our heartfelt thanks. Your dedication, your volunteerism inspires us all, and we are incredibly grateful for your service. I also welcome Alison Dunford, who is in attendance today on behalf of MPP David Piccini to present the Provincial 25-Year Service Medals, and Ava Beatty, who's here in attendance on behalf of MP Philip Lawrence to present the Federal 20-Year Medal and 30-Year Bars. So we're going to now move to the horseshoe and receive all of the folks that we are recognizing this evening. So I'm going to turn it over to Director Williams.
Thank you, Mayor. I feel like Bob Barker without the microphone here. So good evening, Mayor, members of council, distinguished guests and families, and most importantly, the firefighters that we're here to honor today. It is truly an honor for me as the Fire Chief of Municipality of Port Hope to stand before you this evening to recognize the extraordinary group of individuals that are here tonight. Today, we celebrate 14 firefighters that have a combined service of 200 years. 200 years of service is being recognized today. That number is really staggering when you stop and think about what that truly represents. It represents countless calls answered in the middle of the night. It represents missed holidays, family dinners, moments when pager rang and everything else took a back seat. It represents courage in the face of danger, calm in the moment of chaos, and a deep, unwavering commitment to protecting others. I'd also just want to acknowledge the families and loved ones here tonight. Without your support, their service truly isn't possible. You share in their sacrifices, the worry and the pride of the fire service. This recognition belongs to you all. So tonight, we don't just recognize years of service, we honor lives spent in the service to others. And truly, we are deeply grateful and proud to stand with you here today. So first, we're going to start off with our 5-year municipal fire service pin. Deputy Thompson, Mayor, if you'd like to join us up front. First off, if we have firefighter Derek Arnold, 5 years of service. Thank you. Step in. Next up, firefighter Jeremy Holkstra. Congratulations. Firefighter Damon King. Thank you. Thank you. Also receiving the 5-year Municipal Fire Service pin, Firefighter Stephen O'Neill. Five-year Municipal Fire Service pin, Firefighter Christine Rahentis. Rahentis. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Firefighter Bradley Van Hardingsveld.
Thank you.
Last but not least, receiving your 5-year Municipal Fire Service pin, Firefighter DeLacy Walker.
Yep. Good.
Next, we'd like to recognize Captain Malcolm Taylor. Unfortunately, he's not here to receive the certificate, so we're going to move on. Recognizing 20 years of municipal fire service, newly promoted Station Captain, Mr. Craig Barr.
Thank you very much.
Celebrating 20-year Federal Fire Service Exemplary Service Medal and certificate is our Fire Station 1 District Chief Brian Bernard. If Allison, if you mind coming up for this presentation. Next up is Station Captain, Fire Station 2, Dave Drummond, receiving his 25-year Provincial Long Service Medal and a certificate for 25-year Municipal Fire Service certification. Also, if we could have his wife, his lovely partner, better half, Kathy, if you could come join us as well. Kathy is going to be receiving the provincial companion brooch. Just what you wanted to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you. Next up, receiving their 30-year Federal Fire Service Exemplary Service Bar, District Chief Brad Goodwin, Fire Station 3.
Chief. Thank you.
Last but not least, also receiving their 30-year Federal Fire Service Exemplary Service Bar is Lieutenant Bill Reed.
Congratulations, LT.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. More than welcome to stay for council chambers, or you can leave. I'll leave that.
We will have a 5-minute recess. Okay, we will be reconvening. As is always the tradition, we do a collection at our last council meeting of December, and this year's donations are going to be split between the Food Bank and Cornerstone. So moving on to item 5.3, Deputy Mayor. I would like to thank Deputy Mayor Vicky Mink for her leadership in the Deputy Mayor role over the last year. And as per our procedural bylaw, the appointment schedule for the Deputy Mayor role that was approved by Councillor Adam Pearson will be stepping into the role on January 1st, 2026. So just a few days away. And thank you again to Councillor Mink, and welcome to the new role, Councillor Adam. Moving on to item 5.4, happy holidays and New Year's levy. Finally, as we approach the end of 2025, I want to wish you all the happiest of holidays, whether you're celebrating or simply enjoying the season in your own way. This time of year is an opportunity to pause, to connect and appreciate the warmth of family, friendship, and community. Looking ahead, we invite you all to join us in January at our New Year's levy for a chance to connect with your council and reflect on the year that has passed. So first, enjoy a reception with light snacks and entertainment on Saturday, January 10th from 2 to 4 p.m. at Town Hall. Plus, on Sunday, January 11th, take advantage of free public skating and swimming from 1 to 4 p.m. at the Jack Berger Sports Complex, courtesy of your Port Hope Council. Do council members have any updates that they would like to share around the council table? Councillor Adam.
Thank you. So I know this is kind of directed towards me a little bit, as this, I have a wonderful initiative that I do down at Queenie's Bake Shop every year, and I do a toy drive. And I just wanted to point out how incredible this toy drive was this year and what this community does each and every year. So the Children's Foundation came to pick up all the toys on Monday. They had to bring a 20-foot trailer to collect the thousands of toys that were donated by this community. And I just want to give a heartfelt thank you to this community for how much they have contributed to make sure that the children in Northumberland County are all taken care of for this Christmas. So thank you to the Port Hope community.
Thank you, Councillor Adam. Yes, Councillor Clare.
Another community update, it's very exciting. In the past week has been the announcements from the Kawartha Pine Ridge District School Board with regards to investments in our community high school. A long time coming. I want to say thank you to the school board. I know families in this community are really excited, and thank you to Mayor Elena for her ongoing and concerted efforts, working in partnership with the school board, and to all the community members and community leaders who have been involved over many, many years. It's really going to be exciting, and yeah, it's going to be game changer, I think, for our community. So Yay.
And I'll just add to that to say how incredibly excited we are with the return of French immersion and the new programming, state-of-the-art gym, and also very excited about the Futures Learning Hub that's going to be at the high school. It'll take on a science center kind of format focused on nuclear energy, AI and technology, and innovative building technologies. I'm very happy to announce that OPG has donated $250,000 towards the initiative, and I'm expecting at least 6 other partners to be coming forward with some supports in the coming weeks and months. So it'll be a game changer for our community, and the hub will be the first of its kind in the province of Ontario. So yes, a woohoo to that. Absolutely.
You're quoting me.
It is a game changer for the community and for the youth of our community. Speaking of which, we'll segue to the report from our youth councillors. And today we have one of our youth councillors in chambers, Leah Ferguson, and we'll ask her to come forward and make her report to council. And I just want to note that Emily Mountjoy is not here due to other obligations and does send her regrets. So welcome, Leah.
Thank you. Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. Since our last meeting, I participated in the Port Hope Santa Claus Parade, where I was a part of the group on the Port Hope Fall Fair float. The Santa Claus Parade had a great turnout of people and was a festive event that youth could enjoy and be a part of. It was great to see so many youth-directed groups, the dance groups, the cadets, the bands, and more. An exciting addition to Port Hope is the brand new Youth Hub that was just opened on Cavan Street. I attended the grand opening that was held at the Youth Hub, and it was amazing to hear about all the hard work and effort that is being put towards the youth community in Port Hope. I'm sure that the Youth Hub will become a helpful resource for youth throughout Port Hope. I'm looking forward to making use of the space in the coming weeks and look forward to trying out the activities, like the pool table and the other opportunities that they offer. Some more exciting news in Port Hope is from Port Hope High School. As of this coming school year, they will be reintroducing French immersion, as well as the musical theater program, to Port Hope High School. This announcement has created lots of buzz amongst the students. Also, our gym has recently been refurbished, and we are excited to use the space again. As well, the recent announcement of the nuclear energy-specific education stream is very promising as well for our school community, and I'm hopeful that these developments will help our small high school grow and thrive. Yesterday, December 15th, I attended the final Youth Action Committee meeting for 2025, with a great turnout of youth, making it a perfect way to end the 2025 year with a bang, as well as lots of plans for the new year. Finally, school is finishing up this Friday for 2 weeks of Christmas holidays. Before we meet again in January, I am encouraging families, including youth, to attend the New Year's levee to come meet council members in person. I'm also looking forward to the free skate event on January 11th at the Jack Burger. Personally, I will be holding up the boards with my poor skating skills.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that report. Thank you for attending the Youth Wellness Hub opening. I do want to acknowledge Cameco, who's in the room today, for being such a great community sponsor of that hub. And with the donation that they made early in the project of $500,000 was a really big part of the success of the opening. So we acknowledge and thank you once again for that. And also, I think a lesson learned from this year's Santa Claus Parade is that we will be explicitly ensuring that our youth council members are part of the municipal float. Well, it's more like a wagon. And so thank you for participating in that as well. Any questions or comments from council members? Okay, seeing, yeah, Councillor Adam, yes.
Thank you. So I had the wonderful privilege of being part of that youth group yesterday, and it was incredible to see your leadership skills with the other youth there. So thank you for that, first off. Now, yesterday you had told me that you had gone to the Youth Wellness Hub just yesterday with one of the other members there, a friend of yours. What seemed to be the big item there. What did you think was the most used item at the Youth Wellness Hub currently?
Too much to cover in that area because there was something for everyone. Like if you wanted to have an area to go study, if you had to do stuff after school, they had different private rooms where you could do that, have some quiet space, or if you wanted to engage in more youth interesting games and such, they had a pool table, a ping pong table, all the games you could ever imagine, a TV. There was something for everyone.
Oh, that's amazing. I'm so glad that you had the opportunity to go there, and thank you for giving all your stories yesterday. And it was wonderful to see that group come together and the leadership that you provide with the other youth. So thank you.
No problem.
Thank you again. Thank you for being here.
No problem.
So now we're going to move on to our delegations for this evening. We have 2 delegations on the agenda, and one of the delegations has requested extra time, and I've granted this request. So we're going to welcome Andy Thorne, Vice President, Fuel Services Division, Cameco Corporation, regarding your annual update. So welcome.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm Andy Thorne. I'm Cameco's Vice President of Fuel Services and Operational Excellence, and it's my pleasure to be here tonight to just give you a quick update about all things Cameco. Just a quick agenda for my presentation here. So I'll give you a general overview. Cameco's business has changed quite significantly in the last couple of years here. I'm going to talk a little bit about local employment. Safety is always number one for us, so just wanted to touch a little bit on safety. We find ourselves embarking on a license renewal, so just touching base on that a little bit, and then just sharing some information on community engagement and polling. So this shows a global view of Cameco's operations and just to walk you through for those that aren't familiar with Cameco and where we are. So we're a global organization. Our head office is based in Saskatoon in Saskatchewan. Just north of that are our mining and milling operations. So we have a number of mines and mills that are in the Athabasca Basin. So we have Cigar Lake, Key Lake, Rabbit Lake, and MacArthur River. So those are our kind of flagship operations where we do our mining and milling. We have 2 operations in the US, one in Wyoming, one in Nebraska. We have, a bit closer to home, we have our Ontario operations, which I am the VP of. So we have a refinery in Blind River, so northern Ontario on the northern shores of Lake Huron. And then a little closer to home, we have our Port Hope conversion facility here on the waterfront, and then Cameco fuel manufacturing, a facility here in Port Hope and one in Coalberg. And then a big announcement for Cameco in 2023 is we joined with Brookfield to acquire Westinghouse. And so we are 49% owners of Westinghouse. And through that acquisition, we acquired a number of other properties. So their head office is in Pennsylvania. They have a facility in Columbia in the US, Springfield Fuels in the UK, and then a fuel manufacturing facility in Sweden called Vasteras. So that was what we acquired when we bought Westinghouse. The other side of the world there, we have a joint venture in Inkai in Kazakhstan. So we're JV'd with Kazatomprom, and we receive uranium ore concentrates from that facility. And then we have some early projects, early development projects in Western Australia, one called Kintyre and one called Yeelirrie. So that's just a picture of all things Cameco, and like I said, quite a big change in 2023 when we acquired Westinghouse. This is a picture of the nuclear fuel cycle, and it's really on the screen to just help illustrate, as a result of our historical activities and then this acquisition of Westinghouse, it's really just to illustrate where Cameco plays in that nuclear fuel cycle. So you can see everything shaded in a color, either purple or blue there, is things that Cameco touch in that nuclear fuel cycle. So we've talked about exploration, milling, so Cigar, Key Lake, milling and mining, our refinery in Blind River, our conversion facility in Port Hope that we all know very well. And then there's really two types of primary reactors in the world right now: heavy water, which we know very well in Ontario as being the CANDU reactors. And so if you go down there, you'll see that we're providing fuel at our Port Hope fuel manufacturing facility. We provide the CANDU fuel for Bruce Power and for New Brunswick Power. And then going up to the top there, we have a 49% interest in a JV called Global Laser Enrichment, which is Generation 4 laser enrichment technology. We have conversion facilities that we've talked about, where we basically turn the UF6 into enriched uranium. That's now in our interest in Westinghouse. And then that Västerås operation in Sweden is where we make the fuel fabrication under the Westinghouse banner. So very proud to be really integrated into the nuclear fuel cycle. A little closer to home, operations in Ontario. So I've talked a little bit about these, but Blind River, so between Thunder Bay and Sudbury on the north shores of Lake Huron, it's the world's largest uranium refinery. It takes uranium ore concentrates from around the globe and turns them or refines them into a product called uranium trioxide, which is an interim product that is then used for further processing. That facility is currently licensed to 2032. A little closer to home, Cameco conversion facility, you can see it there, we all know it's on the waterfront here. That produces two primary products, uranium hexafluoride, which is used in those light water reactors that I talked about. So that product is an interim product that goes is exported for enrichment either to Europe, Asia, or the US. So there is no enrichment capabilities in Canada. And then we also make uranium dioxide, which is the natural uranium that's used in the CANDU reactors. And we are the only commercial producer of UO2 in the world. So 60% of the power in Ontario is generated from nuclear, and all of that nuclear energy is powered from that fuel that has been processed at the Port Hope conversion facility. Right now, the license expires in 2027, and I'll touch on that in a minute. Fuel manufacturing, two facilities, one licensed in Port Hope and one in Coalberg. And like I said, that's where we produce the CANDU fuel bundles for Bruce A and B and Point Lepreau reactors in Canada. We're really proud of our local employment numbers. So in Ontario, we're employing about 900 employees in Ontario. About 750 of those are in Northumberland County, and about 40% of those employees actually live in Port Hope. So proud of that. It's really important that our employees live and work in this community, and we're very proud of some of those numbers there. There's nothing more important to Cameco than safety and having safe operations, and so it's really important that we have a slide specifically on safety. It's one of our values. It's a primary objective for all of us at Cameco, and this just gives a flavour for that. I guess what we're really trying to flag here is one really important piece of being safe is making sure your employees are trained effectively and appropriately. And so just to put that into context, just in the Port Hope area between Port Hope Conversion and CFM, we've, in 2024, for example, 25,000 hours of training we provided to our employees to make sure that they can be safe and the operations are safe for the communities in which we work. So really important for us, safety. On top of that internal focus on making sure we're safe, we're also strictly regulated. We're regulated by a number of different organizations. We're federally regulated primarily by the Canadian Nuclear Safety Commission. But in addition to them, we're regulated by a list of other regulators, so the Ontario Ministry of Environment, Environment and Climate Change Canada, Employment and Social Development Canada, and Transport Canada. So we are one of the most highly regulated industries in the world. So, that also helps to make sure we're keeping everybody safe, and the employees and the local community. Just turning a little bit to our license renewal. So this is in relation to our Port Hope conversion facility. So the facility on the waterfront there. So we currently have a license from the Canadian Nuclear Safety Commission that expires in February of 2027. And so as a result of that, we have to basically apply for a new license. And that process has started. So in September of this year, we applied for a 20-year license. And following that application, there's a process that we go through. We have to provide documentation. We have to make sure that we keep the community informed of that process and the interaction between us and the regulator. The really important piece probably for us locally here is in the fall of 2026, as part of that process, we will have public hearings here, likely here in Port Hope, which will allow interested stakeholders to intervene into that process. So just really flagging that as an important step in that process where people can get involved if they choose to. We're always looking, continuous improvement is a really important piece of our business, and we're always looking for ways to improve what we do. And we just flag this as an example of an important project that we've completed in the last few years here. So this again is at our Port Hope conversion facility. Historically, we used water from the harbour to provide once-through cooling of our equipment. And so a few years ago, we decided that we were having some challenges with where we were sucking in weeds and debris from the harbour. So we took the decision to create the investment into a closed loop cooling system. And that's the picture you see there, the equipment that we put in to achieve the cooling of that closed water cooling loop. So it has a number of benefits. One is it allows our operations to run more reliably, but it also eliminates the risk of anything contaminated in the harbour from our operations in the future. There is no discharge now into the harbour as a result of that project. Really important piece for us, communication and engagement. So really important for us to keep our stakeholders informed of what we're doing as a business. We do that in a number of different ways throughout the year. This is a good example of that. And then, you'll have seen us at the Full Fair. There's been some events recently at the Capitol Theatre with the showing of the Nuclear Frontier documentary. And so we're always looking for ways to communicate and share information with our stakeholders. One really important stakeholder group for us are the Indigenous communities local to us here, and Cameco has a strong commitment to engaging with Indigenous communities wherever we operate. So that's a really important pillar of our communication and engagement strategy. Investment. So the Mayor mentioned this, so we're very proud to be part of the Youth Wellness Hub, and our gift of $500,000 in 2024. So it's really great to see that project come to fruition, and we had some people there this week. Unfortunately, I couldn't be there, I was sick, but we're very proud to be part of that project, and hopefully we'll see some more projects in the future that we can get involved with. This just gives you a flavour. There's over 60 projects in the community that we've been involved with recently, and we look forward to continuing that as we go out into the future here. Public polling, so we just to share this with you, so we do public polling every 2 years. The last public polling we did was in 2024. The pie chart on the right is the results of that, so we're very happy to report that 91% of our community support continued operations, Cameco's continued operations in the community, so those are good numbers, and we work hard to keep those numbers high. Our plan is to do another set of polling in 2026, so we'll refresh those numbers, and hopefully we'll see similar support in the community as we go forward here. And that's all I have, and happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much for that presentation. Very informative. We really appreciate you coming this evening, and everyone else from Cameco. Any questions or comments from around the table? Councillor Lass, you look like you're ready to ask something.
Well, I just invested in your stock, so I'd appreciate if you push that a little harder. But no, it's really refreshing to see, and I wish you all the success in the world, and as I do to myself.
Thank you. Thanks very
No
much.
pecuniary interest there at all. Any other questions or comments? Yes, Councillor Adam.
Thank you. So I have a couple of things, if that's okay. Okay, so the first thing is your community investment. So I want to thank you for all the community investment that you do, and the wonderful culture that you must have within at least the Port Hope facility. As I also see that many of the staff are out there doing those community investments on their own outside of the actual corporation. So I think you guys have done a wonderful job with that, first off. So I have a couple of questions for you. One, you talked about the license renewal. What happens if you don't get the license renewal?
So we believe, looking at the performance that we've had of the operation, historically, we believe we're in a great place to receive a license. There's no reason why we would not receive a license. So, all of our environmental indicators are well below any regulatory limits, and we look forward to receiving a license. Absolutely.
That's fantastic news. And I just have one more, if that is okay. Okay. You spoke about 60% of the electricity is produced with the Cameco conversion facility for Ontario. Have you heard this rumor about a Port Hope power plant, an OPG potential?
I have heard that.
So if the potential of the new Port Hope power was to use a technology that Cameco would supply, what would that look like for the Port Hope conversion facility? More jobs, upgrades, expansion? What are we looking at there?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the number I've seen is a facility of 10,000 megawatts, which is huge. That's a big facility. With Cameco's acquisition of Westinghouse, Cameco's preference would be selection of AP1000 reactor technology. I think it's important to note that AP1000 is now a Canadian-owned technology through Brookfield and Cameco. As far as, regardless of which technology is chosen, I think it's got to be a good thing for Port Hope and Cameco in Port Hope. So, whichever technology is selected, our employees and the community will benefit from that. So if it's some form of CANDU reactor using natural uranium, we will likely be the provider of the UO2 powder for that. Who manufactures the fuel, I can't comment on that. That would be someone else's decision. But I think fair to say that whichever way that decision goes, we would play an important role in the building or the support of that future nuclear power plant.
And do you have that capacity right now, or would that be an expansion type thing for you?
Yeah, we have some additional capacity for the type of fuel that we produce now. But it's a complex conversation because it's unlikely that the technology that they choose will be identical to something like a Bruce reactor. We have space in the facility that we could utilize to take on different activities. So we're absolutely ready for those conversations as and when we get involved with them. Yeah.
That's amazing. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Councillor Adam. Brave new world, for sure.
Absolutely is.
I want to take you back to something you said about how seriously you take developing and maintaining relationships with Indigenous communities and nations. And one of the things we've heard consistently as we are contemplating hosting the world's largest nuclear facility is that Cameco has the best track record in terms of those relations and really walking the talk. So I'm wondering, can you share with this council just some of the key approaches that you have used as a company to nurture those relations, and whether or not you might be able to share with us some of those lessons learned to date, because that's going to be a really important part of our work moving forward.
Yes, so it's a great question. So we have, as Cameco, a very long, rich history of engaging with Indigenous communities, whether that be in northern Saskatchewan or whether that be in Australia. And more recently here with Scugog Island and Curve Lake, so we're engaged regularly with those communities. There's many different ways that you can collaborate together with communities, whether that's opportunities for work, whether it's opportunities for funding, or whether it's just collaboration and sharing of everybody's different cultures and understandings. So, for example, our facilities, I've just come from northern Saskatchewan where I ran our mines for 11 years. Just to put it in context, 50% or more of our employees in those operations are residents of Saskatchewan's north. So half of our employees are from local Indigenous communities to our operations. And so that to achieve those sort of numbers takes a lot of focus, a lot of dedication, a lot of collaboration, and I think there are some examples, not just Cameco, around the world where organisations have done very, very good work in those areas, and we just have to build on that and trust the process and trust that trust each other and engage together and try and find those common goals where we can create jobs and support and financial security for communities, Indigenous communities and Indigenous people.
Thank you. And should I assume that Cameco invested pretty heavily in the youth of those communities in order to create that pipeline
Absolutely.
Into the workforce?
Yes, so we absolutely. So part of having people ready to work in a facility like ours, it requires training and education. And so we have done many things, online training. We recently, at Rabbit Lake facility, had 10 Indigenous women attend a pre-trades, 3 months of pre-trades training at the facility to get them ready to take on apprenticeships. So that would be a great example where investing in youth, investing in education is key and critical to that long-term success of creating those strong relationships moving forward. Yeah.
We're planning on following that.
Perfect.
Here in Port Hope.
That's great to hear.
Thank you very much again for the presentation. I see no other comments around the table, so thank you very much. The recommended motion is to receive the delegation for information. Can I get a mover and seconder? Moved by Councillor Less, seconded by the Deputy Mayor. All in favour? And that is passed unanimously. Moving on to the second delegation, Rob Kempson, Artistic Director, Capitol Theatre, regarding the exciting season ahead and, of course, the successes of 2025. So welcome, Rob.
I'm just getting over a cold, so I apologize if I need to take a minute, and also that you have to listen to this voice, but that's an apology all the time. I will note that I asked for extra time and they gave it to Andy. So if you have further questions about the Capitol after today, you'll have to ask him. And I have a slide before this, I think. There should be one right right, going back, there it is. We're actually, I know that a lot of you know what's coming up in 26, which is a really exciting season. And I've left some brochures for the season with you, and I hope that you'll take the time to review those and find out about the 11 months of programming that we have, featuring 10 out of 11 entirely Canadian top-to-bottom productions in 2026. There's a lot to celebrate. But I actually wanted to tell you about the amazing year that we've just, well, we're still having. The Panto's still on right now. Some of you may have in fact seen Andy on stage in the Panto a few weeks ago. But we're still working, but we have some really exciting news to share about how 2025 went and some of our big successes. So in my short 10 minutes, I'm going to talk really fast, and I'm going to share all of the amazing successes, and I'm going to be jealous of David's suit. Okay, here we go. So at the Capitol, one of the big things that we did in 2025 with support from a bunch of different resources was a complete redesign of our branding and our website to make it a lot more user-friendly for folks. As much as we all love the Dancing Lady is of a time, and we are past that time. So we're really proud to now be sharing with people this logo that is the Capitol Theatre in Port Hope. There are many Capitol Theatres across the world, many in Canada, in fact, and many who do similar things to us, but they're not in Port Hope, and they don't have our incredible and iconic sign. So we wanted to, as part of our rebranding, make sure that we are situating people right here in this amazing community. But what about Cameco, you say, as they sit behind me and have reinvested in our organization? I'm so glad you asked. Because the amazing thing about Cameco's investment is that it is the naming rights for our venue. And what that means is that not only is Cameco interested in supporting the Capitol Theatre, and Andy is interested in performing whenever possible, but also that they're actually interested in supporting it as a venue for this community. As many of you know around this council table, that you folks use our facility, but you are one of hundreds of organizations throughout Northumberland County who use our facility. And it's really important that they understand Cameco's investment as being a big part of this community institution. And so with our new Cameco specific logo, that specifies the building. And in fact, it's a picture of the building. So you'll be able to find it pretty easily. Things that are taken inside the Capitol Theatre that we produce are Capitol Theatre Port Hope, and that's more for the national art scale. As we continue to produce, as we did last year, across the country, we want to make sure that people understand that that work is starting in Northumberland County in Port Hope. So this sort of does a whole bunch of different purposes, but we're really excited about our new look, and you'll see that unveiling more and more and more as we continue. 2025 has a lot of exciting things to share, but I wanted to start with the 2025 Artworks report by the Canadian Chamber of Commerce, because this identified some really important truths that a lot of people don't know are truths about the arts community, which is that it's a huge economic engine, that the sector contributed $65 billion to Canada's GDP in 2024, growing almost 8% in 3 years, and that's faster than oil and gas manufacturing and agriculture. And yet, I don't hear a lot of CBC stories about the tariffs on art. So I want to make sure that we are recognizing that not only is the Capitol good for lots of good heart-feeling reasons, it is also really good for this community for lots of economic reasons. Job creation. Our organization since 2021 has grown from having 2 full-time employees to having 11 full-time employees who live and work in Port Hope, in addition to the 125 artists and tradespeople who we work on a contract basis throughout the year. Resilience and challenges, meaning that the arts community is always resilient to the many challenges facing us, but we continue to approach those challenges with creativity. And that means that every dollar of public investment generates a whole bunch of money for communities. And we just really wanted to share those facts because they're true across the country. So today I'm going to tell you about our 2025 successes, as I said really quickly, through our 5 strategic plan key directions. So we're going to start with artistic excellence. This is where my heart is, obviously, as the artistic director. But for Port Hope to be able to house an institution like the Capitol Theatre requires a community who's interested in this kind of work, who's interested in supporting the creation of new work, who's interested in supporting work from diverse voices and marginalized voices. And it is not common to find a town of this size that has an audience as open as ours. We are so lucky to be here. And I know you all know that. That's why you're sitting at these tables. But it's really important that you understand how important that is for an arts organization like ours. It gives us a lot of freedom. So this past year, for the first time ever, we held 17 consecutive weeks of programming in the summer season, and none of my staff quit. We returned to Under the Marquee. The very fabulous Aaron Pierce put that together during the pandemic, and we hosted an amazing concert by Melissa Payne right out in front of the theater at the end of the Arts Festival. We had over 22,000 guests in our summer season alone. That's just in those 17 weeks and in the 7 productions that graced our stage during that time. We had our first ever second stage series in the Intimate Sculthorpe Theatre upstairs. If you haven't been yet, I encourage you to do so. We have 3 more shows again coming up in 2026. We had 2 main stage world premieres, including our hit production of Resgas. To be in a community where we can premiere a new Indigenous hip-hop musical and have it sell almost the same number of tickets as Waitress is wild. It is a wildly exciting gift, and it speaks not only to the quality of the work, but the quality of the community. And so we're really excited about that and very proud of that work. We developed 3 new plays in the Creators Unit. We had more than 200 annual events and hired, as I said, over 125 artists and tradespeople from the region and beyond. Diversity, equity, and inclusion is a huge part of our strategic plan as well. And so I wanted to share some highlights there, which was that this year we did a full DEI overview, working with consultant Menon Dworka, and that included training for our staff, volunteers, and board of directors, as well as a full intersectional overview of the work on stage and the work of our organization writ large. We also launched relaxed performances this year for all 4 of our main stage shows, which directly invite the disabled and neurodiverse communities into our theater so that the theater can truly be for everyone. More than 50% of our artistic company for the 4th year in a row identified as LGBTQ+, or BIPOC, or both. We hosted our 2nd sold-out drag show. That'll teach you to put Taylor Swift in everything. And we had brand new engagement with local and regional Indigenous communities. In relationship to our world premiere of Resgas, we started working with our Elder in Residence, Melody Crow, who continues as an Indigenous consultant and Elder in Residence for us forever, or until she says she doesn't want to anymore. But that's great because it's not just connected to that show, it's organizational. Our financial sustainability is something that I'm particularly interested to share because these stats are actually of last week, and many of these numbers have already increased since then. So in 2025, we saw 39% first-time visitors to Capital Productions, which is an insane number that Sean Stratford could only dream of, especially since last year we saw 40% and the year before we saw 30%. So our audience is growing in a major, major exponential way, and we are not losing people, we are just gaining more new ones, which is really exciting. This year, by this date, year over year, this is actually no longer correct. I said the double subscription sold, but it's actually way more than that. We've almost reached our goal from last year already by this point for next year's subscriptions. And we sold more than 6,000 more main stage tickets this past summer than we did in 2024. Our sponsorship revenue also increased by 75% year over year, and we are very proud of our re-engagement with our naming rights sponsor, Cameco. How many times have I said it now, Sarah? 3? She's counting. Oh, 6. Oh my gosh. Okay. Cameco. And our grant revenue increased by 75% as well year over year. And we've seen consistent increases over the last 4 years in both public and private funding. Our Red Carpet Gala raised over $73,000, which is the most that it's ever raised in net revenue. And our general fundraising revenue increased by 20%. So these are numbers that you would think would make us wildly rich. They don't. They make us maybe break even, which is really exciting because we're a not-for-profit. And so we don't actually want to get rich, but we'd really like to erase the enormous deficit that we've been saddled with since before the pandemic. And so that is a long-term goal of ours, and it's a goal that we're going to continue to work at because the more that we can do that, the more sustainable the organization becomes. And we don't get that way with austerity. We get that way with growth. And as you can see, the numbers are showing that growth, and that reflects right back into the financial piece. Organizational effectiveness, a branding and website overhaul, as I mentioned, an introduction of a marketing coordinator. We've had over 12,000 volunteer hours already logged, and that's not including any of the Panto and Christmas season. 186 active volunteers, a new dedicated production volunteer team, historical maintenance that has come through an investment from the Stuart Suzuki Family Foundation, the introduction of the Atmospheric Theatre cloud projections, and we finally finished the roof. So it doesn't leak anymore. And we have about 6 different roofs at the Capitol. So that's a big project, and we're really proud of doing that without launching any kind of capital campaign to do so. Finally, community engagement. What Andy was saying about the value of the community is so true for the Capitol and for any kind of arts organization. The community is the most important piece of it, because if you don't have anyone rallying around the organization, it kind of doesn't exist. So we started Indigenous Community Nights this year for all of our main stage shows, which was really exciting to see. I know that I'm 4 seconds over. I promise I'm almost done. $35,000 in rental fee reductions for community organizations, $110,000 in revenue through community events that goes right back into our community. More than 114 earned media impressions. Anyone who works in publicity knows the insanity of that number, especially in this publicity landscape that we currently live in. And those are people talking about Port Hope, about coming to Port Hope, about visiting Port Hope. We have 1,000 new Instagram followers again this year, 500 new Facebook followers again this year, and we hosted multiple municipal events, including memorably the Welcome to Derry, which I was too scared to attend myself. We had in-person presence this summer at more than 50 local events because of some additional investments, which means that the capital was everywhere. We were at every regional powwow. We were at every regional home fair. We were at all of the music in the park. We were everywhere. And that level of connection with the community is also what helped us invite new people into the theater. And then, of course, we have a series of ongoing partnerships with all of the major players and many of the minor ones as well. So, it was a really exciting year. It was a year that we are incredibly proud of, and we have another really exciting year coming up next year. I like to take the time to share our successes with folks because most of the time when I put together a PowerPoint, it's to tell you what you should buy tickets to next. But if we don't take these moments to stop and reflect on where we've come, where we've been, and how exciting that growth and that change is, we really do ourselves a disservice. That's because of the investment from this community, from this council, but it's also because of the feelings of this community. It's not all about money. That was only one of the slides. And so I'm really just excited to share for you the power that we found in our community this year in 2025. 2026, we have Where Our Stories Begin, a really exciting season coming up. And some amazing stats that I'll share with you just before I go. 10 Canadian plays and concerts out of only 11 productions. All of them, those 10 are from top to bottom, made in Canada. 5 world premieres, 8 female writers, 3 presentations, which means work that we are buying from a tour. 3 BIPOC writers, 2 female directors, 2 productions developed right here in our creators unit. 1 LGBTQ plus writer, 1 BIPOC director, the first ever full production in our Sculthorpe Theatre with Farley Mowatz and No Bird Sang, and the first ever full co-production working with Prairie Theatre Exchange in Winnipeg. We have a lot to celebrate, and we wanted to come and share that with you. So we hope to see you at the theatre for the Panto if you haven't been yet. I wrote a lot of dick jokes, and my mom had to watch them, so you should too. And next year, we have a really exciting season, and I hope you will join us. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much, Rob. And I think we all wonder whether or not you and Aaron are cloned in a number of different ways in terms of what we're seeing with the growth and the productivity and the offerings at the theater. And, you know, thank you for being the cultural backbone of our community and all that you have done to bring the Capitol Theatre to a whole new level. So thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing the successes and thank you for allowing us to know more about what's happening in the future. So at this point, I'll turn it over to my colleagues, starting with Councillor Less.
Rob, I'm very disappointed in you in the slide 12.
I expected nothing less.
You could have put that to the 12 days of Christmas. The 10 Canadian, please. Da, 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 da.
Well, look, if I wasn't sick, Les, I would have, you know. You can come to my office later and I'll sing for you in some way.
The other thing, not for profit, does not mean run at a loss.
It doesn't.
Means provide enough reserves to sustain yourself in the future.
You got it.
So be
Yeah.
proud of that.
We're very proud of it. Thank you so much for pointing that out.
Any other, yes, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. So thank you for the presentation.
Thank you.
So I've attended a lot of performances
Of
and
course.
other things, but I do travel to Stratford and Niagara-on-the-Lake and other places. So my question to you is, do you have any information on who travels to Port Hope? How far are they coming from? Or your social media impressions? Where are these new impressions coming from? Are they outside of the community? Because really, it's great that our community participates, but we want people coming here. So
Oh my gosh.
Can you share some of that?
You just spoke to Aaron's heart. We love talking about tourism. We just submitted an Experience Ontario grant this morning that speaks directly to tourism. And we just submitted the report from this past year's Experience Ontario grant earlier this week. So I'm really glad you've asked about this. We also received additional support this year from OCAF, which is the Ontario Cultural Attractions Fund, which is not an annual grant that you can get, but that enabled us to do more marketing efforts to bring in tourism. So the numbers that we reported this morning suggest that out of our 22,000 people who came in the summer, about 8,500 of them came from more than 40 kilometers away. Certainly, if you want a full data breakdown as to where they're coming from, I can give that to you, but we'll need to go to the theater and spend some time in our CRM system to get there. But certainly, we see people coming from the Durham region, from Peterborough in the region. We see people coming from Hastings, Prince Edward. That's pretty obvious because those are our immediate sort of pieces. But we see a lot of folks coming from Toronto. We see a lot of folks coming from Kingston and the Thousand Islands region as well. And we do have international tourists as well. So all of that data is collected, and certainly we're happy to share it with you. I don't have it on hand except for the 8,500 because we just sent that report in this morning. I think the thing with tourism is that it's best done in collaboration. So in the places that I am most proud of, and I know that Aaron is most proud of, is in working with the HBIA to create the Shop, Dine, and Show package, which brought thousands and thousands of dollars of revenue, not only through to the Capitol Theatre this summer, but to our local restaurants, to our local shops, and to many of the hotels as well. We also create a whole bunch of informal partnerships with regards to our group sales initiatives. So often we find ourselves in the leadership chair there, where someone might want to come to the Capitol Theatre and we help them build an experience that features our town from a tourist perspective. We know that in our community at the moment, we don't have a big tourism department that's doing a lot of that work, and we are happy to be the leaders in that area. And we want to be the leaders in that area because destination marketing requires a destination, and a show is a pretty good option for that. I'm sure when you go to Stratford and Shaw, you probably eat dinner at least once, and more than 70% of the people who come to the Capitol Theatre do the same thing in our community. And I'm also certain that you probably stay in a hotel on occasion, because that's a long drive otherwise. And I don't have the data on that right off the top of my head, but similarly, you can try to call the Carlisle and the Waddell anytime during the summer seasons of 17 weeks, and you won't be able to book a room, because we often do try. So there's both anecdotal and data-based evidence that I can share with you regarding tourism. We are happy to be a leader in that field, and I know that the collaborative space is where that's going to be the best. So Aaron spends a lot of time working with the B. Walton Group. Aaron spends a lot of time working with the HBIA. We both spend a lot of time talking to our other community partners and trying to build those packages, but more support from the municipality and from the region to ensure that we can do that together is the way for us to lead. Does that answer those questions? Sort of.
It does.
But also, if you want to hang out and do data,
I
let me know,
love
Vicky.
data and charts and graphs. So yeah, you're
Dreams.
speaking to me.
You're
Yeah.
speaking my language. We can make several spreadsheets.
Thank you. And I think this council as a whole loves data and metrics. Looking at you, Councillor Todd. I've got a couple questions
Sure.
for you. I know we've talked about this before, but I wonder, again, whether or not you are thinking about, or whether you've received any kind of grant support, research creation grants through SSHRC, the Social Sciences Humanities Research Council, and whether or not you're pairing up with any of the sort of local universities or colleges in doing research.
We have not
creation.
yet. We've started that conversation with Queens. I know that that's not local, but because they have a relationship through SSHRC and because their production department is woefully underused during the summer months, so they're excited to continue that conversation, but we haven't gotten any further than that.
And just a quick follow-up question. Is ResGas going to be taken up by Broadway?
I can tell you that I have some very exciting ResGas information to share at a later time that is not today.
We'll look forward to hearing that. Any other comments? Yes, Councillor Adam.
Thank you. So Rob, you're a good man, Rob Kempson.
Oh, thanks so much. Charlie Brown is cast, unfortunately.
I'm just gaslighting you anyways. Both of those are just references to the main stage. So Rob, you talked a lot about the economic development within the Capitol Theatre, but also what you've done with the downtown over the course of the last year. I have been able to witness that quite a bit as being one of the downtown merchants, and I can't thank you and the Capitol Theatre enough for all the work that you have done, bringing in so much business into our downtown area. So thank you for that. I also want to thank Cameco for their sponsorship with you, Cameco. And it's not just, I listen. And it's not just the Cameco sponsorship into the Capitol Theatre to bring all that amazing things. Also, all the employees of Cameco that come to the Capitol Theatre to watch all those shows, which I think is incredible. I had some, so this year I had a wonderful opportunity. I know that you talked a little bit about bringing the Welcome to Derry and the world premiere here. And I just wanted to say, I did have the opportunity to work with Managing Director Aaron Pierce with that. The professionalism, the problem solving, the troubleshooting, unbelievable. And what an incredible organization you have. I have nothing but good things to say about the Capitol Theatre. Thank you for everything you do for Port Hope. I really do appreciate it, and I think we all really appreciate it.
Thanks so much, Adam. I want to remark on just one thing. There wasn't a question in there, I don't think.
No, you're
I
good.
appreciate the comments, though. I'll take them.
Well, also, I do have one question for you specifically.
Sure.
I thought that you were singing tonight, but I'm a little bit disappointed with that.
You have to pay if you
But-
want to see the singing.
Oh, that
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense. Are you doing courses on public speaking and presentations? Because I got to tell you, one of the best presentations here, incredible. So sorry, as you're about to
Thank
say.
you so much. I will share that with my student debt. You should get a drama degree, everyone. It's a great idea. The thing I wanted to share was just when you were speaking about the sort of involvement in downtown, and I know that you get to see that firsthand at Queenie's, obviously, and I know that a lot of the restaurants in this region staff based on our schedule, like they will sort of upload our schedule into their own staffing system. But the one thing that I wanted to just remark on, which I know is something that you know about, is how often the people who stay here also patronize the businesses in our community. So right now we have a Panto cast of 8 people who are living and working in this community for 9 weeks. And they live here for 9 weeks. And in those 9 weeks, they know Adam, and they know which sandwiches they like, and they know which streets they like to walk on and which ones they don't. And they know where the good pastries are. And the community that we build is not only within our physical community, but speaking to what you were saying, Councillor Mink, about bringing folks from outside, sometimes that's folks who are in our artistic company. And I know that a lot of folks wonder if they're all just from Toronto, and they're not. They're from across the country. We have people from as far away as Victoria and as far away as Charlottetown and everything in between. So we're also introducing the artistic community to the value of Port Hope as well through our work, and that's by giving people opportunities to live in this great place.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for the excellent presentation, but I also want to say, Andy, thank you. You did an excellent presentation. There were 2 excellent delegations this
I thought
evening.
Andy did some of his best work, but I will say that if you missed his performance in the Panto, you missed just more choreographic excellence that wasn't present today.
Thank you very much again. And the recommended motion is identified on the agenda to receive this for information. Mover and seconder on this, moved by Councillor Todd, seconded by Councillor Less. All in favor? Thank you, and that is passed unanimously. It's now time for our public comment period. As per procedural bylaw, the purpose of the public comment period is for members of the public to provide comments on items that are on today's agenda. If you have questions, please wait until question period, which is later in this evening. So if anybody's got a comment, now's the time to please approach the podium and state your name, and staff will turn on the mic. Okay, seeing that we don't have any comments via questions, at this point we are going to take a 5-minute recess. Okay, moving on to item number 9, correspondence. We have none. Moving on to item 10, consent agenda, adoption of minutes. Items listed under consent agenda are considered collectively as one motion. Council members may request that specific items be removed for separate discussion, deliberation, and action. The consent items are listed on the agenda. Would any members of council like to remove any of these for separate discussion? Councillor Clare.
Yeah, I'd like to speak to 11.8.
We're at 10. We're not at 11 yet.
Sorry, it's listed as under the consent.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I'm in the, sorry.
You're in the wrong section. Okay, so mover and seconder for everything under section 10. Councillor Les, Councillor Todd, all in favor? And that is passed. Okay, moving on to item number 11, Consent Agenda Advisory Committee and Board Meetings. Councillor Clare, would you like to pull forward an item for separate discussion?
How did you know? 11.8, please.
Okay, so go ahead.
11.8 is the minutes from the October meeting of the Environmental Advisory Committee, and I've just pulled it as an opportunity to provide a little update on the work of the committee as we are hitting the end of the 6-month pilot period for the leadership of the implementation of our Community Climate Action Plan, which was delegated to the committee on that trial basis. So I just wanted to highlight that in that 6 months, the committee was able to organize a Miyawaki mini forest tree planting event in collaboration with the Parks, Recreation and Culture team. We organized a workshop on heat pumps in collaboration with a local author, the Port Hope Public Library and Furby House Books. We have produced a circular economy shopping guide highlighting all of the local businesses in our downtown core that are repurposing, reusing, and creatively, repackaging used items so that they were keeping items out of the landfill, a great opportunity for holiday shopping. And we also, it was a committee member who identified a grant opportunity, which we subsequently applied for and succeeded in getting a paid internship position for 6 months, funded through Environment Leadership Canada. And that intern will be working with us beginning in the new year as we continue to implement. And just wanted to share that update about what we've been able to accomplish in a short time and to put it on your radar as a council that we are meeting on Thursday to discuss, to workshop our new terms of reference. And if the committee feels the pilot has been successful, we are likely to put that into our terms of reference and hope that council will be supportive of continuing that leadership role. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Clare, for that update. Any other items that anybody would like to pull? Okay, so the motion is on the agenda. Can I get a mover and seconder? Moved by Councillor Todd, seconded by Councillor Adam. All in favor? That is passed unanimously. Moving on to item 12, items for consideration. Report FS 1725, RE 2024 Grant Summary. Does council have any questions or comments in relation to this report? I have a question. I really appreciate getting this report brought forward, and I do recall that in the first budget of this council that I'd put forward the motion for a half-time grant position, which I believe was seconded by Councillor Todd, and just wondering where we're at to actually take that from a half-time position to a full-time position so that we can fully realize the potential of this very important role on municipal staff.
Thank you for the question. So I'm happy to say we have a consideration for that as part of the proposed 2026 budget coming forward. So we'll be talking about that in January.
Thank you. We'll look forward to having those discussions about probably the only position in the entire municipality that's not just net neutral, but money-making. So if there's no other questions on this, can I get a mover and seconder? Moved by Councillor Clare, seconded by Councillor Adam, all in favor. And that is passed unanimously. Moving on to 12.2, Report FS 1825, Re-prescribed fees for services. Does council have any questions or comments on this? Seeing none, can I get a mover and seconder for the recommended motion on the agenda? Moved by Councillor Todd, seconded by Councillor Adam. All in favor? And that is passed unanimously. Moving on to 12.3, which is the appointment of the Chief Fire Prevention Officer Report FES 0125. Anybody have any questions on this item? Seeing none, can I get a mover and seconder? Deputy Mayor moving, Councillor Less seconding, and all in favor, and that is passed unanimously. Moving on to now a very long grocery list of committee reports and recommendations. 13.1, motion from Committee of the Whole meeting December 2nd, 2025 regarding memo 2025-01 from the Environmental Advisory Committee regarding support for the inclusion of sub-watershed studies for rural hamlets in the 2026 municipal budget. Is there anything further anybody would like to add before we vote on the matter? Seeing none, can I get a mover and seconder? Moved by Councillor Clare, seconded by Councillor Todd. All in favor? And that is passed. Moving to 13.2, motion from Committee of the Whole meeting December 2nd, 2025 regarding correspondence from the Ganaraska Region Conservation Authority, GRCA regarding proposed regional consolidation of conservation authorities, ERO notice 025-1257. Anything anybody would like to add to this? Yes, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. So I attended a meeting, a Conservation Ontario meeting last week. It was an online meeting where all conservation authorities were either in attendance or expected to be. We voted on Conservation Ontario's letter to the province that was aligned with our letter, and all but 2 conservation authorities had supported that letter. So they were all in support of the same narrative that we supported from the Ganaraska Conservation Authority.
Thank you for that. Any other comments or questions on it? Okay, Councillor Less?
Yeah, do you think that'll have any effect on the outcome?
It is possible that it could potentially be paused and relooked at some components of it. There's a number of different components as far as the consolidation as well as shared services and that type of thing. There's a lot of discussion about Indigenous, their voice in it as well, which seems to have been missed through the process. So there is a possibility to sort of pause it and relook at some of the suggestions that are being made.
Councillor, let's continue.
Is the province looking forward to our municipal contribution to the GRCA?
I can't answer that question.
Any other comments around the table? Okay, so the recommended motion is listed on the agenda. Can I get a mover and seconder for that? Moved by the Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Less. Further discussion? No. All in favor? Thank you, and that is passed. Moving on to item 13.3, correspondence from Laj Prasher Holdings regarding donation of the Gandhi statue to the municipality of Port Hope. I'm going to turn this over to the clerk for clarification.
So, Madam Mayor, this item does note that it was deferred at the Committee of the Whole meeting to be coming forward to Council for consideration following the consideration of the EDI policy. But because of the fact that it was an item that was discussed at Committee of the Whole for the purpose of our record-keeping processes, we do have to note it on the Council agenda.
Thank you for that clarification, because I think that's important for the public to know. So thank you for that. So we're going to be moving on to 13.4, motion from Committee of the Whole meeting December 2nd, 2025 regarding presentation by Robin Dines, Chair, HBIA regarding the 2026 budget. Anything further on this item? Seeing none, a mover and seconder, please, for this. Moved by Councillor Clare, seconded by Councillor Adam. All in favor? And that is passed unanimously. Moving on to 13.5, motion from the Committee of the Whole meeting December 2nd, 2025 regarding the 2026 budget update process. Is there anything further that anybody would like to add to this item? Okay, I just want to note that I will be signing the mayoral decision to shorten the mayoral veto timelines, as well as we had discussed during the treasurer's budget presentation, and continue to work in a collaborative process with this council to bring forward the budget. So can I get a mover and seconder on this item? Moved by Councillor Adam, second by Councillor Clare, all in favor? And that is passed unanimously. Moving on to 13.6, motion from Committee of the Whole meeting December 2nd, 2025 regarding report FS 1625 library request for reserve funds for website. Anything further on this item for anyone? Councillor Adam, did you? No. Oh, okay. Can I get a mover and seconder? Moved by Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Clare, all in favor. And that is passed. Moving on to 13.7, motion from Committee of the Whole meeting December 2nd, 2025 regarding report LLS 0125 re Freedom of Information Activity and Trends. Is there anything further that anyone would like to add before we vote on this matter? Seeing none, I need a mover and seconder on this. Moved by Councillor Todd, second by Councillor Adam, all in favor. And that is passed unanimously. 13.8, report LLS 0225 re proclamation and flag raising request policy. This item was deferred at the December 2nd Committee of the Whole meeting for the same reasons as the earlier item, so we were not going to be addressing it. Moving on to 13.9, motion from the Committee of the Whole meeting December 2nd, 2025 regarding report LLS 0325 re closed meeting investigation, several meetings. Anything further that anyone would like to add to this? Seeing none, I need a mover and seconder on this. Moved by Councillor Luss, seconded by Councillor Clare, all in favor. And that is passed unanimously. Moving on to item, gosh, I feel like I'm like an auctioneer. I'm to the clerk. I'm very much looking forward to some revisions to our procedures so that these can sit in a consent agenda format. I think everybody would appreciate that. Item 13.10, motion from Committee of the Whole meeting December 2nd, 2025 regarding report LLS 0425 re-administrative monetary penalty system. A mover and seconder for this. Moved by Councillor Todd. Going once, going twice, going three times. Deputy Mayor is the seconder, all in favor. Thank you. And that is passed unanimously. Moving on to item 13.11, motion from Committee of the Whole meeting December 2nd, 2025 regarding report PRC 0825 re-lease agreement with Trinity College School. Anything further on this item for anyone? Then I need a mover and seconder for the recommended motion. Councillor Clare, seconded by the Deputy Mayor, all in favor. And that is passed unanimously. 13.12, motion from Committee of the Whole meeting December 2nd, 2025 regarding report WE 1025 re-transfer station agreement with Circular Materials Ontario. A mover and seconder on this, unless there's any, would you like to say something to this? Yes, Councillor Luss.
So the county pays half and we pay half, correct? For the transfer station?
Can we get some clarification from that, from any staff that's, yeah. We're just pausing for a moment.
Madam Mayor, perhaps I can just quickly answer that. I did have a chance to review the agreement, so it would be the recycling would be paid for by Circular Materials Ontario, and the county would pay it. So it is 50-50.
Sorry, who pays the 35 cent per resident fee? Is that a tax on the resident? I don't need an answer now. I mean, if we could get an answer, it's not critical.
Okay, we can get you the more nuanced answers to those questions. So we do have a recommended motion that is on the agenda for this evening. Barring answering those questions, can I get a mover and seconder? Moved by Councillor Clare, second by Councillor Adam. All in favor? Thank you, and that is passed. Moving on to item 13.13, motion from Committee of the Whole meeting, December 2nd, 2025, regarding report WE11 25 Re Walton Street Reconstruction Project Summary. Anything further on this item? Can I get a mover and seconder for the recommended agenda item? Councillor Clare, Councillor Adam, mover and seconder. All in favor? And that's passed. Item 13.14, motion from Committee of the Whole meeting, December 2nd, 2025, regarding report WE 1225 Re Henderson Street Urbanization Environmental Assessment and Design. Is there anything further on this item? Councillor Less.
I'm afraid I still don't understand this, how this happened. And, you know, there may be logic to it, but in the report, I can't see my way through why the amount increased. Was it not part of the original RFP?
While we're contemplating the answer to this, I think that we've had a number of situations now where we've had increases on projects. And so my question remains the same on this as it has been previously, is how is it that we can have more control over this or prevent this from happening in the future? Turning it over to the CAO.
Yeah, there's through you, Madam Chair, that we will take those questions back. Unfortunately, Director Jeanette couldn't be here tonight. She had a family obligation, so we'll get those questions and respond. No problem. But to your point, Mayor Hankivsky, yes, we have discussed internally different processes to improve the prediction of the budget before they go through to the RFP process, and making sure we do that holistic review afterwards, or after we get the submissions by the bidders.
Thank you. I think that's important, because if we have 10 projects, each overrunning by $100,000, that's a significant impact on our budget. So the recommended motion is in front of us. Can I get a mover and seconder for that? Moved by the Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Clare. Any further discussion? All in favor? Okay, we're going to do that again. All in favor? Okay, so we have 3 hands up and all opposed. So that is defeated. Okay, just drawing a total blank. Thank you. Thank you. That's what happens when you have so many points. So item 13.15, motion from Committee of the Whole meeting, December 2nd, 2025, regarding notice of motion regarding allowing supporting documents with notices of motion. Anything further anybody would like to add before we vote on the matter? Seeing, Councillor Less?
Yeah, you know, there's enough in this that I support it. What makes me a little bit nervous is that it could be a one-sided document that comes through to us without any vetting at a higher level or a different level. That's my only concern.
Councillor Clare.
Yeah, I hear you, and I think that echoes some of the concerns that were raised at Committee of the Whole. I think the motion does direct the clerk to come forward with her recommendations for what those guardrails will be. And I think I did have a brief conversation with the clerk after the Committee of the Whole about some of the concerns that were raised. And I think we can put our trust in our clerk to come forward with recommendations. And then, of course, as a reminder to all of us that, you know, directing the clerk to come forward with recommendations for those provisions does not commit us to making that change ultimately when she does, but I think we should give her a chance to see if she can address those concerns.
Okay, so we did have a mover and seconder on this at the committee of the whole. Councillor Clare, Councillor Adam, any further discussion on this? Yes, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. And I appreciate the comments that you had just made, Councillor Clare. But I think what's very important to remember is that, when you said trust the clerk with her opinion, this is a bylaw. So it means that I do trust our clerk. However, I don't know who will be here next year. This is something that I think we're really muddying the water by allowing council members to bring reports forward. This is. I just feel like staff has their job, we have ours, and we're now. I remember thinking back to Sabine Matheson, who came at the beginning of this term and made it very clear what our role was and what staff's role was. And I think we're really wading into staff's role, and it could potentially be very messy depending on who is up here in the future.
Councillor Todd.
Thank you. Maybe I need a more clarification, because my understanding of what this would be is, should this pass tonight, we are directing the clerk to come back with what the content of those documents would be. Am I correct in that? And then we would then vote on that as to say whether or not. And so, over to the clerk to decide what that could be. And I'm, not leading the witness here, but I'm assuming it's not like something I wrote on the back of a napkin, but it's more stuff around like peer-reviewed reports or stuff that is coming forward. So I just wanted to know, am I reading this right, or is there more clarification I need on what this is?
Councillor Clare would like to make a comment.
You're bang on, Councillor Todd. I think it was in no way ever my intention to suggest that council members would be writing documents to attach, but rather attaching, publications by other levels of government or government agencies or peer-reviewed articles of research. It's that, and those are the kinds of things that I had spoken with the clerk about when I was working with her to craft the language. Apologize that wasn't made more explicit, but I think that's the kind of direction that I expect we're going to see.
Thank you to Councillor Clare, and I didn't hear the Deputy Mayor making a suggestion that anybody was going to be writing reports, but I think I want to just give the Deputy Mayor a chance to respond and then pass it back to you.
And I think what you said is part of the problem. I think it creates an inequity and it creates an expectation that not everybody has that same ability to find peer review reports, to attach them to a notice of motion, to make that argument, and the expectation from the community that if you bring forward a motion with a peer-reviewed report, that it can add more value than your other council member that doesn't do that. And I think it really gives that experienced council member, or that, depending what your profession or your education is, it gives them that one up to be able to do that than the rest of the peers around the table.
Councillor Todd?
This will be my last question of clarification, but it feels like this is also of the same variety as we get to bring forward communication or so on. Like we can post communications and so on and have council have a look at them, right, earlier on. Oh, but we can pull, sorry, let me rephrase that. But we can pull communications to be able to speak to them. So it's of the same ilk, like we would see the publications, we would be able to pull them forward. So this feels like it's sort of in that same track, is that, or no, is that?
Are you referring to like we can elevate correspondence? Yeah, so I think you're exactly right. And, what I think there are ways around it, right? If I want to bring forward a motion because of a document from another level of government or whatever, I could just have somebody submit it as correspondence and elevate it. But to me, that's less transparent it's less forthcoming, right? And similarly, I can write a very powerful notice of motion with all sorts of fancy whereas statements without having to cite any sources or back up my assertions in any way. To me, that is more biased than saying, hey, I got this idea from X, Y, or Z, and here's where this is coming from. My intention really is to provide more transparency and understanding to where ideas are coming from when they're coming from the council table.
Okay, so we've had a little discussion, and I do think that there's a good intent behind this, but with that, I'm going to flip the chair to Councillor Mink, because I'd like to potentially put forward a suggestion.
Thank you. Okay, so I will ask for your comments.
Okay, so just much like we had deferred a number of other considerations to vet through our EDI policy, I think that the issue that the Deputy Mayor raises around equity and fairness around who's got access to what information through which sources, et cetera, is really a legitimate one for us to consider. So I think it's an important one to pause on and to have staff look at it through the policy of EDI. And that is my suggestion, to defer until we have a look at it through the EDI lens, like we are looking through a number of other things that have come to this table.
So are you just opening that conversation at this time? Okay, and Councillor Les?
Well, I think that's covered in the motion, and that the council is directing staff to update the current procedural bylaw with language, so the clerk will have any creative license or literal license that he or she wants to come up with the bylaw, and then we can discuss it at that point. So this is pretty open-ended the way it is.
I appreciate what you're saying, Councillor Les, but no, we haven't left that open for that kind of flexibility with some of the other things that have come forward to this table, and I'd like us to explicitly have this go through the EDI policy.
Councillor Todd?
Could you give us a bit more on what the EDI policy you think, like how would this connect with it? Like what is the specifically maybe the inequities that would come through on this?
Well, I think it really goes back to what the Deputy Mayor was excuse me was talking about, which is the ability to bring forward additional information with emotion can be related to one's potentially education, access to information, access to, for example, academic databases where you would find peer-reviewed papers, because not all peer-reviewed papers are available through open access. And so I do think that we should think about whether or not just our council right now, but future council members would have the equal ability to bring forward information with their emotions, or whether that would create a structural inequity amongst council members.
And just before, Councillor Todd, just to add that, my thinking about this as well is just during an election campaign and the ability for someone to be elected, these conversations come forward about potential councillors' abilities. And if this comes into question, and I hear these at doors and stuff during 2 campaigns now, how is so-and-so going to be able to keep up to this bar that we've set now? And I can see, maybe not today, but in the future, that there will be an expectation that notice emotions now have reached a particular potentially educational level, and it's not really representative of the general community. And you did have your hand up, so I'll ask you.
Thank you. No, I hear what you're saying. I understand. Thank you for explaining it on the equity side of things. And I hear what you're saying, and I can see where it could come up. I'm wondering, whether that piece around the equity part is better served when the clerk comes forward, because the recommendations of what types of documents would be brought forward, if that's where the equity lens is better served than here, which is really directing them to look into it in the first place.
And Councillor Clare?
Yeah, I think, I don't think I agree with the direction this is going. And the reason being, it's not requiring anyone to submit supporting documents. It's basically saying that when we bring forward motions that are based on those additional documents, we reference them when we're speaking to that motion, like, according to the, provincial department of X, Y, or Z, this is true, and therefore be it resolved that. I'm saying that in those cases, rather than just being able to just refer to things that colleagues are not able to reference, source documents, that we be able to attach those source documents. Now, not all notice of motions are coming from source documents. Sometimes they're coming from community dialogue. Sometimes they're coming from what we've heard from a neighboring municipality, in which case no supporting documents would be required. So I'm not saying you need a supporting document. I'm saying if the motion is based on that, let's be transparent about where the ideas are coming from so our community knows where are we getting our information, where are we getting those ideas from.
And I believe the mayor was next.
So I'm not sympathetic to the impetus here, but as a researcher, I feel like I can speak to this with some authority to say that I am concerned about the bar that's set. So it's true that not every motion that's brought forward needs any kind of supporting documentation. That's absolutely true. But I think I also agree with concerns that have been raised with the deputy mayor. Is it going to set a different bar for motions to be brought forward, or are some motions going to be considered to be more valuable than not because they've got a whole stack of documents that are coming with them? And so I don't understand why we're not saying that this is not a good idea. I just would like to refer this to our capable staff to look at it through the lens of our EDI policy, and if it passes the muster, and I'm talking about each step of it, Councillor Todd. So not so much in the step that the clerk would be undertaking, but actually just having that as an option if that is setting up within our governance structure some systemic inequities.
Councillor Clare.
I will say there is one inequity that I will agree I think exists currently, and it's actually an inequity that this motion is designed to address. Currently, if you are a member of the public and you would like to put forward an idea to council, you are allowed in our procedures to attach whatever documentation you want. Currently, if you're staff and you're bringing forward a staff report with recommendations, you are allowed to attach supporting documents to support the recommendations you're bringing forward. The only people in this room who are not afforded that right to provide backup information for the ideas they bring forward are the elected members of this council. I see that as an inequity. I see your point that without those supporting documents, we debate notices of motion far more than we debate information that comes to us through those other means. And I think it's because they appear to be just ideas out of the air, because we can't see that there is a research, evidence-based grounding to these ideas. So I think right now, council is at a disadvantage compared to members of our neighbors in the public who are not elected and staff who are not elected. And I think that is a concerning inequity, given that we are the policy-making body.
So I know the mayor has a comment, but I just want to make a comment for one moment. And I to that, I would say that that is partly our role, is to be objective in that way. I just want to throw another angle, and then I'll go to the mayor, is also we're talking about peer reviews and scholarly articles and so on, there are differences, there are rebuttals. And I would like, if this is even an option to consider, what is the option for the rest of your council to also attach their document on that topic that may be very, very different than the person who's bringing it forward. So I'll ask the mayor if she would like to comment now.
Yeah, and this is not, it's not a straightforward matter. And so I guess I just, I ask, why not put it through an EDI process? It doesn't mean that we won't necessarily land there, but it can be put through it, and staff can come back and consider, all of the different issues that might be at hand, and then, we can consider it all. I'd like to see that deferral so that we don't miss any of the angles on it.
Councillor Clare.
I think if we're going to talk about deferral, I'd like to talk a little bit about timeline on that. This is now the third thing, I guess, on this one agenda that we're now considering deferring to run through that EDI policy. That EDI policy was commissioned a very, very long time ago. We've been told on numerous occasions it's coming next month, it's coming next month. And I'd like to know that, given this is my motion, I'd like to see this considered and passed in our term of council. So maybe if the CAO can give us an update on when we can expect that policy and what timeline we could expect staff to be able to run things through that policy once it's adopted.
Through the chair, yeah, we are top priority for the senior leadership team. We've reviewed it extensively. We are proposing to bring it to council in January, and you will get your first look at it. It's a well-crafted document. We have taken a deep dive in it, so it is very imminent.
Okay, so I think we have, I see Councillor Les has his hand up. We do have a potential motion on the floor, but I'll ask for Councillor Les, and then I think we can wrap this up.
Well, I'm just looking at the procedural bylaw and notice of motion, and there's no reason why you can't submit supporting documents now. And there's nothing that says you can't, nothing says you can, and all it says is you submit your notice of motion, which would include supporting documentation, to the clerk, and then that's the way it goes, and that's the way the bylaw reads.
So our interpretation of the bylaw as it currently stands for notice of motion process is that no supporting documents are to be attached with notices of motion provided by council.
Where does it say that? Certainly not in the procedural bylaw you provided us with.
Just the absence of language does not necessarily mean that
Well, I could use that argument.
I know. So, I mean, this is a notice of motion, that is coming forward from Councillor Holloway Wadhwani, and is directing the clerk to take back and provide council for consideration updates to the bylaw. My plan is to bring forward an updated procedure bylaw, because there are several items that need to be discussed as part of the procedure bylaw update, including rules of decorum, consent agendas, strong mayors, et cetera, a lot of different things, hybrid meetings, et cetera. So that plan was to bring that bylaw forward on January 6th, right? And so I'm happy, depending on what happens today and the will of council, if they want to include this as part of that update, then we will absolutely do that. If council decides to make a motion tonight to defer this item to after the consideration of the ADI policy, then we will bring forward a secondary amendment at that time.
Thank you.
Okay, all right. Okay, so thank you for that. So I think we've had a lot of discussion. I don't want to leave anybody out if there's another very important point, but so the mayor has suggested to defer it to EDI. Is there a motion anybody would like to make for that? Oh, sorry, the mayor has.
I do want to just go on the heels of what Councillor Clare was saying, is that given that there's so much that we've been talking about that's supposed to go through the EDI, I do really want to make sure that this is a top priority for potentially the first council member meeting of the year. I think I really do think we need to see this. It's really long overdue for this council. I'm not sharing.
Okay, Councillor Todd?
Thank you. And so I agree with the conversation that's going on, and seeing as this is going to be impacted in the procedural bylaw, I would actually propose, and back to you, Mayor, as you look at amending this or changing the motion, in fact, I think the EDI policy should come forward before we look at changing procedural bylaw, because quite a few things that the clerk mentioned in there around accessibility to hybrid meetings and so on should also go through an EDI policy. So I think if we're going to put the horse before the cart, we actually should get the EDI done before we actually see any changes to the procedural bylaw.
Okay, so is there any other comments? And is there any motions, or are we voting on this at this time as it is?
So just to be clear, through the EDI, but taking Councillor Todd's point that we first need to see the EDI, but understanding that the EDI should be top priority for our very first get-together in the new year.
Okay, and Councillor Less?
I don't, like, I just look over and I see the look of our staff saying, that's an awful lot to ask for in a very short period of time. I know we've been dragging it out for a while, but we should give them some leeway. Well, I guess we can wait another couple of weeks.
Okay, so I guess if there's not a motion, I guess I'll pass the chair back to you. Oh, you did make a motion. Oh, you're referring it to the, or deferring it?
I propose deferring this to be vetted through the EDI policy, and just another plea to have the EDI policy come forward as a priority item for the new year.
Okay, and is there a seconder for that motion? Seconded by Councillor Less. And so then I will call all in favor. And all opposed. So that was carried. All in favor with Councillor Clare opposed. And I will pass the chair back to the mayor.
Thank you. Moving on to notice of motions. There are none. Moving on to item number 15, bylaws, consent agenda. Bylaws are passed by consent agenda. Would anyone like to remove a bylaw for separate consideration and discussion? I saw a hand go up, but that's staff Adam. Okay, can I get a mover and seconder then to pass the bylaws on the agenda? Moved by Councillor Adams, second by the Deputy Mayor. All in favor? That is passed. And now we're going to take just a very short break to allow staff to leave. Okay, I think we're ready to start again with question period. So it is now time for question periods, an opportunity to ask brief, direct questions to council members about matters of municipal business. Not a time to ask staff questions. Operational questions will be directed to staff after the meeting, and please keep your questions concise. And I will now open the microphone for public questions. It looks like it's you, Ed.
Did it again. First of all, Merry Christmas, everybody. Happy holidays, whatever. I didn't understand the vote on the Henderson overbill thing. What did you pass? Like, isn't this a bylaw thing where you vote and you pass a bylaw? So did you pass a bylaw, or did you instruct staff to do something, or what's that mean?
It means that the well, it was a split vote, but that means that we're going to have to revisit that cost overrun on that item.
So that overrun has not been approved?
Correct.
Okay, that's what I was curious about. So I guess the the next one would go along to the landfill agreement with the circular, whatever it is, the truck. What was, like, are we approving something that we don't know anything about? Because, like, it seemed like there was no consensus here on what the costs were going to be, or who was paying what, or anything like that. Like, they're, you know, I mean, are they talking about just using the transfer site, or are they talking about Ward 2 garbage pickup? Like, what are we talking here?
I'll try on this. It's just because we operate the transfer site.
Right.
So the staff report just explained we have to enter into an agreement as the operators of the transfer station, but the funding is through county. County is responsible for waste, not the municipality of Port Hope. So the cost is shared between the county and the producer organization, which is the Circular Materials Ontario.
So have there been some terms agreed to, or is this a study thing again?
No, it is directing me to enter into an agreement, looking at all of those details.
So are there parameters?
Yeah, there are parameters. It's been all listed in the, would the CIO like to, I want to make sure that I'm not.
Like, somebody doesn't just have carte blanche and
No,
say,
no,
okay.
no. Or I'll turn it over to the solicitor.
Okay.
Oh.
And then just, okay.
Just to clarify there, so that agreement is between, municipality and Circular Materials Ontario, just to address the recycling pickup, which was the county previously, but is now the responsibility of this organization, just because the province changed the way, the province changed the way that you deal with recycling in Ontario now. So it's essentially just, instead of the county doing both, it's county doing waste, and this organization is paying for the municipality to operate that transfer station.
So they're paying us?
Correct.
Oh, okay. And then I guess the other thing, there was a long discussion on the documents and motions and stuff like that. Just from sitting there and some of the comments that were made, I'm a little confused. Staff can have corroborating information, but you guys can't bring up information, so you got to go through a back door and write a letter or get your buddy to send a motion in? Is this what I'm understanding? Like, that's not very transparent.
Well, I think it's a little bit more complex than that, which is why we've
It doesn't sound like it.
Well, but it is, because the staff roles have always been to bring forward staff reports where they do cite other examples and other evidence. So nothing's changed about this. I don't think this council is saying that we're not open to having a fulsome conversation about the ideas behind this motion, but rather we want to have an opportunity to take it through the EDI policy to make sure that there's no inequities that are set up by this for council and between members of council. So it's not a closed conversation. We're still continuing the conversation.
Well, just from my point, sitting in the audience there, listening to what you're saying, it's to break it down, and I hate to say it this way, but it almost sounds like if somebody brings corroborating documents, somebody else's nose is going to be out of joint. Like, that's the impression that I'm getting sitting there,
Yeah, thanks, Ed. And I think that's one of the considerations that, staff will be looking into as we make a final decision on this.
Okay. Hope you guys get it together.
I'm sure we will once the staff report comes back. Thank you for the question. Thank you for being here. This is exciting. We have another question. Jamie.
It's Jamie Ferguson from Garden Hill. Sorry, just about the transfer station. How long of agreement were they going to commit to? Any?
Yes, it is 3 years.
Okay.
It is 3 years.
Has the environmental advisory ever looked into the environmental impact of having that transfer station where every community member has to drive to that facility? It's not difficult for me because I pass on my way to town, but somebody who lives in Wesleyville has to drive through town to drive out there to get rid of their garbage. When we talk about accessibility, it's where one garbage truck could do, even if it took one garbage truck 2 days, the impact on the roads, the environmental impact, and there is a cost to the taxpayer, which in Ward 2 or the municipality as a whole to operate that facility, which is probably greater than contracting it out. And then there's the other costs of maintaining the facility, the snow removal, the works department coming down and packing those dumpsters when they're full between runs. Before we commit to a contract, have they looked at the numbers, and evaluated them?
Thank you for that question. Of course, garbage is the $1 million issue in our community, right? I'm going to turn it over to Councillor Clare, who sits on that committee.
Yeah, so the answer is no, the committee's never looked at that. It's certainly something that we could consider weighing in on and looking at if there was an interest in the community of reopening that conversation about how garbage is treated. I think every staff report we've seen around the transfer station always emphasizes that it costs taxpayers more than curbside pickup would. Of course, it's cost taxpayers, it makes no difference. You pay your property taxes, but it is county. So it's not coming out of the municipality's budget. County pays the municipality to operate it, but the funds are all county. So I think, this agreement doesn't change how that works. It just changes who takes the recycling away. Yeah.
But it's a great question, and I see there's 2 more comments brief on this, Deputy Mayor and Councillor Todd.
Thank you. So these are conversations that I have had a few thousand times over the course of 7 years. And there's always a difference of opinion, and your questions are absolutely valid. I think one question, too, that this does become a question for the Environmental Committee that has been overlooked is organic waste as well. So organic waste goes into landfill in Ward 2. Across the province, most organic waste will then be taken away through the recycling program. So that is definitely a missed opportunity when you brought up environmental impacts, is that we are contributing to landfill in that way as well.
It's like everything else, just because we've always done it one way doesn't necessarily mean it's the right way. Right?
Councillor Todd.
Yeah, the only other piece I was going to add, Jamie, is this was introduced by the province and through the county, and so I don't, as far as the wiggle room on some of that stuff.
Yeah, no, I know, the province is taking over recycling, and garbage is expensive. I have dumpsters in my business, and I get garbage is expensive, right?
Thank you. Great question, ongoing conversation. Not going to go away soon, I'm sure.
Okay.
So thank you for that.
Okay.
So moving on now to our confirmatory bylaw. It's now time for the confirmatory bylaw. Confirms the proceedings that took place this evening, formal adoption through a bylaw. Can I get a mover and seconder on this? Moved by Councillor Less, seconded by Councillor Todd, and all in favor? So this concludes our business for today's agenda and this year. We have reached the end of the agenda, and I'm in a position to adjourn. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and Happy New Year. Thank you.